Hello. This is going to be quite a long one actually, and quite a slow-paced one. This is going to be holding the postures for quite a while, probably like between 5 and 10 breaths on each one. Um, and this just kind of lets you explore the whole depth of the postures, and will also allow me to explain a bit more in quite a bit of detail, like how to get in and how to get out of them, and how to progress through them as we're holding them. So yeah, we begin with a mountain pose. Try and readjust that. So this is our engaged standing posture, which I like to begin pretty much every practice with, um, just because it kind of centers you and grounds you a little bit into the beginning of it. So we can start, spread your toes, grip the mat, bend the knees slightly, use these lower core muscles to bring your hips underneath you. So you're pulling your tailbone down. So it's not like that, you're using it to pull it, and that kind of just lines up your whole lower body. Lift the chest, bring the shoulders up and back. Nothing too crazy, just so they're nice and in line. Chin up, gaze kind of forward. And then I always add to this, I turn my palms and my inner arms facing forward, and that just gives me a bit more engagement in the back. And then take a few deep breaths here, big diaphragm breaths. And just enter this practice. And this is going to be a big thing in this one, is just really, really bringing back to long, slow, relaxed breaths. Because as we do that, we convince our nervous system that we are indeed relaxed, and that tends to relax our muscles a little bit more, and we can go a little bit further into the poses. So then, keeping the integrity of our torso and our hips and our knees, we're not going to move them at all. We're going to inhale and raise the hands up, all the way up, keeping the rib cage in, keeping the hips tucked. And this will restrict our diaphragm breaths, but really, really try and continue with long, full breaths. You see, I'm not arching my back. My rib cage is still being pulled in. This core is really holding everything together. If I was to relax it, I'd end up like that. But I'm engaging it gently, and that allows the big muscles of my back and my shoulders to work on opening up my chest and pulling the arms back. And reach up even higher. On the next exhale, slowly lower the hands down. And as we're going in and out of the poses, feel the difference as you relax. Like when I do that, I find really engagement. As soon as I relax, it's really, really powerful feeling as your shoulders relax, and then all the blood rushes back to your hands. So we'll go engage a little bit further into that. So again, be mindful of your mountain pose, your posture. We're not being lazy with that, but interlace the fingers this time. Lift the chest, lift the chin. Inhale, keeping the torso still. All of this is from the huge muscles in your back. And reaching up as high as you can. Really slow the breath. A couple more breaths. Reaching high, reaching high. And exhale. Slowly lower the hands. Feel how it changes. We're going to carry on just doing up the upper chest and the shoulders at the moment. So our first one is the beginners of reverse prayer, which is where your hands end up like that, but on your back. So to warm up for that, you bring your shoulders back, rotate the hands, and grasp on to the opposite elbow there. And again, remember your hips, keep them tucked. Don't allow it to stretch out like that. Body's nice and in line. And you should feel a nice stretch across the front of the shoulders there. which is enhanced if you breathe deeply. Like if you breathe real deep, it expands the ribs and creates more space for the shoulders to go back. Keep breathing. And that might be enough for you. That might be a great stretch. If you want to go a bit further, just try and raise your hands up a little bit. So you end up like that. And you can go as far as you want in that. Just kind of walk them up. Not going too far just yet. But you can try and grab on higher up the arms there. It's quite intense. And then very gently release. It's a very, very intense stretch. I have a belt here. These are great to have. You could also just use a towel or anything, anything really. But for this, we're going to carry on with that shoulder stretch. So you reach up, drop it behind. You take your other hand, again, do that same twisting motion and grab up as high as you can. This is just the next step of that first pose we just did. And if you want to make it more intense, with your upper hand, lift. And again, breathing and expanding your rib cage kind of gives you a little bit of an extra push into the stretch. Your head should be nice and relaxed. You shouldn't be pressing hard against the arm or anything. It's all in the shoulders. And then to get out, going to let go with that hand. Gently, gently, release it out, shake it out. Swap hands, bring that one up. Remember, big rotation of the lower arm. Go straight in there. And hold there. And breathe. And you might find the edge of the stretch and just want to stay there. Sometimes as we have these longer holds, it feels like it eases off a little bit and you can go a little bit further by just walking that hand further up the back there. And then gently, gently release. So that little sequence of poses there is obviously to increase your shoulder flexibility on the way back, which allows us to hold our shoulders back in a much better posture. The final pose of that is somewhere which I haven't quite got there yet, but it's a reverse prayer where you end up with your hands kinda, yeah, I'm not quite there, but palms together, right up behind with your shoulders and chest completely open. If you've got that, great, crack on with that. If not, then those little warm-up ones are just as effective as well. Okay, so now we're going to do some standing postures. I have a couple more props here, actually. The blocks are really good to have, but you can improvise, use a book, and you don't actually need them. You can also just find support using your body, which I'll show you. I'll show you with the blocks and without. But the first one we're going to do is triangle. I'm just going to readjust this so you can see better. Maybe a bit too much. Let's try it. Okay, so triangle, you're going to take a wide pose, wide stance, and you're going to turn your left foot out 90 degrees. So my left heel, I could draw a line all the way back to the center of my right arch. So it's just a nice kind of, a nice T almost. And then we're going to stand up tall. My hips go back towards my right foot. I have a lot of weight pushing into the outer edge of that foot. And then I'm going to start leaning out. Sorry, let's start again. Go like that. So hips go back, Look out over that hand. Take this one out too. And you're reaching out as far as you can get, and then pivoting down to here. And you can find support with your shin. This is where the blocks come in handy, because you can find a bit of support right there. You put that behind the outside of your ankle and then twist. If you're feeling a big strain in the back of your legs here, just have a little bend in it. We're not trying to, this isn't really a hamstring stretch. This is more of a twisting of the torso stretch. So you've got a lot of engagement in both of your feet here, creating a nice solid foundation in which to twist the torso up to the sky. This leading hand all the way up, and if you're feeling for it, continue the twist with your ankle, with your neck, looking all the way up to the hands. And this really does restrict the breathing. So really try and focus on having long, slower breaths. Should feel a nice stretch along the side of the body. Keep that engagement in both legs, allows you to have this nice long extended posture out to the side. We're not collapsing into it or anything like this. It's a real engagement of the core as well while we're lifting with that right hand. And from this triangle pose, we're going to transition straight into an extended side angle. This is a really good way of getting out of it. So you're going to bend that front leg. Keep bending, keep bending, keep bending, keep bending. You can walk that back leg back a little bit to get more space. And I would suggest starting by having your weight supported on that knee. You see your elbow is on top of your knee. And then reach that arm over, continuing that thing. Your chest, your sternum again is almost like it's trying to point up to the sky. So it's another big twist. Go deeper into that leg. And breathe. This is a real leg strengthener here. You should be feeling full engagement in that front thigh, the front quad as well. But also your back leg is solid as well and engaged. If you want to go a little bit further, you can have the block down to there. If you want to go even further, down to the ground. Look up at that leading hand. Hold for 3 more breaths. And then we're going to continue our transition out of this. We're going to pivot on that back foot. Right hand comes to the ground. Right knee comes to the ground. Untuck the right foot. Lift up into a low lunge. So just drop your shoulders back. Have some support with your hands on the front knee. And then push the hips forward. And you're really trying to aim for a nice big stretch in the front of the hip flexor here. All the way down. And you can just really play with what's comfortable here. Moving forward, moving back. Whatever feels good. And with these longer holds, we don't just want to remain passive, kind of in our comfort zone. Like once you're set and you feel comfortable, push a little further. It tends to help if you have a big inhale to kind of expand yourself, and then on the exhale, push into it. And just we're trying to push the edge basically, or pushing that comfort zone a little bit further each time, so that our muscles either lengthen or strengthen, or both. We strengthen our ligament, lengthen our ligaments, strengthen our muscles. But you don't just want to sit passively where it's comfy, because you won't really get any benefit from this. So we are trying to push just to that edge. Take a couple more breaths here. Then we're going to place the palms down. Going to tuck that back foot, lift up, start walking a little bit towards here. we're going to go into a warrior pose. So that back foot, if you'll have a look, computer's just gone to sleep. There we go. At a 45-degree angle, and you're going to push really hard with this leg up to vertical, and then going to rotate our hips to face forward. So that back hip is facing forward. If you need to bring the right foot round, do so. And we're going to sink into that front leg. This is our warrior, and we're trying not to collapse that back, keeping it a nice solid thing. It's like you have to kind of pull the mat apart with your feet. Like I'm pushing really hard back into the edge of that foot, and also into the heel of this one. So I'm pushing, stretching the mat apart, and then I'm lifting my torso up high. And you'll notice, there you can see it there, that knee is not collapsing inwards. It's out, and it's over the center of my toes. And then that back one is there. But my hips, I'm trying to bring my hips to the front. And then we can raise the hands up. And we're pushing into the ground. This is a big leg strengthener here. So we are lifting our body. This is why it's called a warrior. You are solid. You're not going anywhere if anyone pushes you. And then we're going to transition into our warrior 2, which is we walk that open up to the side. So our feet are now 90 degrees to each other. Like that. So that back, the side of the foot is now against the back. I'm pushing into that. This foot has stayed where it is, but my hips have opened up to the side. My chest has opened up to the side. And I can push like that. This knee is still over the foot. It's not in. That's really important because you'll strain the inside of your knee doing that. So we do that by engaging the backs, like the sides of our hips and our glutes, and that externally rotates the legs and brings that knee over the foot. And then stretch out the arms. Look over the foot, look over your leading hand. Probably really have some heat in that front leg by now. And for 3 more breaths. And then straighten up and come back to center, shake it out. And we're going to do that whole little sequence again on the other side. So take a wide stance, turn that right foot out, raise the arms up, hips go back towards the left foot, shoulders go out over the right ankle, and then we pivot into our triangle, again finding support here or with the block if you need. Try not to strain on the inside of your knee. This is all, if you do feel anything, try and get it up into the hamstring, but the main stretch should be around here and in your hips. And we do that by pushing into the legs and creating a solid foundation. Again, reaching down, looking up. And twisting further around, trying to get our chest pointing to the ceiling. And we're going to transition into our extended side angle. So bend that front leg, come up onto your elbow, walk that foot back if you need, and reach up overhead. Again, we're not like this, we're twisting out. And if you want to go further, come down. On the next exhale, pivot on that back foot, drop the knee, flatten the foot, come up into our low lunge, feeling the stretch on the front of the hip flexors. Again, finding the edge of discomfort, not being lazy, trying to get some lengthening into the ligaments and muscles. On the next exhale, drop in the hands. Going to come up into our warrior one. So walk that back foot a little nearer, turn the foot out, pushing up. Find that solid foundation. Remember keeping your knee over your foot, not letting it come in. Keep those hips squared as much as you can. Lifting the arms and pushing, pushing, pushing into the ground. The whole of both of your legs should be engaged. Should be really, really solid, as if you're pushing the floor away. Then we're going to open up to our warrior two. So step that back foot back a little, open it up 90 degrees. Keep that knee that way. And then opening up the palms, looking out over the front. And remember, engaging the outside of the hips and the glutes to rotate our legs outwards. It's almost like it's going to be pushing our hips forwards. You should feel quite a strong stretch in the hips and definitely some engagement in the leg here. Mine is definitely heating up a bit. I can feel the lactic acid building up in it, and that's all right. That's why we keep these long, slow breaths. Three more. Last breath. And then pushing up, back to the center. Walk it out, shake it out. That was some pretty intense standing poses. So we're going to do a forward fold before going into some twists and then some seated poses. So the forward fold, the way I like to do it, is to bend my knees all the way down, until I can get my hands flat on the ground. And then from here, then I'm going to get to my forward fold by pushing my knees backwards and my hips up. Because in that way, I know that my spine is in a safe position. I'm not overextended. I'm not out here. My spine, my hips and my spine are in a perfect curve, and they are supporting them to each other. So, and then what this does by going from the bottom up, basically, is it guarantees that the stretch is in the belly of the muscle, which is where we want to stretch it. I found that if I come into a forward fold from up here and try and go like that, actually what it does with my legs straight already, it puts a lot of the strain on the where the muscles connect to the ligaments and bones in the back of the knee and in my lower back. So I think the safest way is to squat, get your hands down, and then lift from there. And then actually what that is, it means it's your thighs contributing to lengthening your hamstrings. So you're using your body strength to help lengthen the hamstrings. So unless you're already really, really flexible and your hands are on the floor and your legs are straight already, which in that case, great. But for me, especially if I haven't warmed up or it's been a while since I've stretched, this is the way. And then they just come back to those long breaths. And again, once that gets comfy, just push a little bit further. Take the hips a little bit higher. And then very quickly I find I can get there. But as I say, it's much better coming from a supported position into it than the other way around. If you want to go further, take your two fingers, grip your big toe, and then same again. And if you want to go even further, slip your palm of your hand under your feet. And allow your scapulars to, allow your shoulder blades to open up and hang real loose. Head down. And then you're using your thighs to push the knees back. Once you release that, again, the safest way to get out of this, bend the knees, come back up, and then push up. That's really good if you've got a weaker or painful lower back as well. All right, so we're going to do some twists now. If you have a chair or a table or a stool or anything that's higher than the ground, then this is a good little preliminary twist. You could do this on a table. You could do it like anything high up, just above the ground, really. So I'm going to put my left leg on here, and I'm going to make sure I'm standing real tall, real straight. Do that same thing with the hips, tuck them under. I'm going to take my right hand out to the outside of my left knee. This hand is reaching round. I can grab my t-shirt here, or grab my shorts, or just have it resting on my lower back. And then I'm going to take a big inhale and lengthen the spine, and then exhale, twist into this. I'm using this for a bit of leverage to come all the way around. And what you do with these twists is it's like you start from the bottom, then you use your chest, and then you use your neck to rotate the head. So lifting up, twist from your abdomen, twist the top of your chest, and then looking out over your back shoulder. And with each inhale, we're kind of lengthening up, exhaling deeper into the stretch. Couple more breaths. And then gently exhale and untwist. Fill your other leg up. Stand up tall. Take that hand over to the outside of the knee. Other one comes around. We'll say grab your t-shirt, grab your shorts. Inhale, extend the spine. Exhale, twist. Round to the side. Head looking over the shoulder. Leading with your eyes. And then breathing into the belly. And going a little further with each exhale. And then slowly releasing. You can also do this twist seated. It's exactly the same. It's just as long as you've got a straight back, do that, twist like that, whatever feels better. Then we're going to come down to, we're going to continue the twist, but first we're going to go through hero pose, which is, it's like the kneeling version of that mountain pose. It's the kind of a good basis of posture on the grounding floor, on the lower positions. So the way I'm sat is kind of in between my heels. My heels are falling outwards, and I'm fitting in the gap there. This is all completely dependent on knee flexibility. For me, that's really comfy. If I want to go further, I'll actually roll my calves out, open it, and then try and get down to the ground. I'm not quite there yet, but that's kind of where we could hang out. This is, if that's too much, this is where the block comes in handy. You could just sit on the block, or even still grab a cushion. Like it's more about having your back in a nice kind of vertical, neutral position than anything. Going to sit like that, and we're going to go into our twist here as well. So raising up the right hand, bringing it around, lifting up straight, and twisting. And then coming back to center, twist around the other way. coming back. We'll just hang out. Computer's gone to sleep. There we go. We'll just hang out in hero pose for a little bit because it's actually a really, really relaxing pose. It feels quite passive. It is very passive, but it is a very, very effective pose for strength, lengthening the knees really, and getting some flexibility in the lower body, in the hips. So just take a few breaths here and kind of relax into it. There's a way of making it slightly more effective, which if you take your hands and place them on the inside of your heels facing outwards and then sit, it just adds a little bit of torsion to the knees and can actually feel really good. It really, really stimulates a lot of nerves in the knees and just gives a bit of flexibility in the ankles as well. A couple more breaths. And this is a nice pose to come back to just to relax during a yoga session at any point. It's just very relaxing. But we're going to counteract that with the downward dog. So come to all fours, tuck your toes underneath, and we're going to be pushing into this part of the hand here, this kind of L with your thumb and your index fingers pointing forwards. You're trying to get the crook of your elbow pointing forwards almost as well. So that doing a bit of external rotation there, and that will bring your shoulder blades engaged and down your back. And then from there, going to lift and drop the hips back. And it doesn't matter if your feet touch the ground. Just find where is comfortable. Allow your chest to go down towards your knees, lifting up the hips. And you can walk it out a little if you want. I'll take a few long breaths here, really pushing into those index fingers and thumbs. And relax, dropping down to your knees. So we've got one more twist. This one's called Marichasana, which is quite an advanced twist. I'm actually going to sit on a block for this because my hips are really inflexible, and this actually means my lower back is a lot straighter if my hips are raised up. But I'm going to extend one leg, bend the other, bring it into your chest. I'm going to take our opposite arm, bring it around, get the elbow on the outside of that leg. This hand goes back to the ground, and we use this elbow against the knee as some really strong leverage to twist around. We're trying to keep our back as vertical as possible as we twist. Going a little bit deeper with each exhale. And relax. We're going to switch sides. Take that hand up high. Bring the elbow to the outside. Send that other arm back. Lift the chest with an inhale. And exhale. Twisting round. This is the last of our twists. Couple more breaths. And relax. Lose the block if you're using it. So we're going to go into our seated poses now. The first one of which is called staff pose or dandasana. If you've got tight hamstrings, then I recommend starting like this, which is what I'm going to do, because what that allows is for my hips to actually be in the right position, which allows my lower back to like maintain its integrity and let me sit up straight. If I was to start like that, I'm kind of like that, and you can see the bend already. But that's just me having tight hamstrings and hips. So I'm going to start like that, and I really focus on having a really strong, tall upper body. And already I can feel my lower back getting tired. This looks like an easy posture, but it's actually knackering, and really difficult. So yeah, shoulders back. You can put your hands down to help give a little bit of a lift, and then breathe. And then as I go, I'm going to try and lengthen out my legs. Maybe get my legs down while keeping my lower back from collapsing. Now I can feel all of the muscles around my core and lower back really engaging and strengthening. And then we're going to go to forward folds, and that same theory applies. I'm going to start with my legs slightly bent because it allows everything else to be in line first, and then I focus on that, not pretending that I'm flexible enough and then doing that and having bad posture, basically bad form. So I'm going to start with my knees a little bent. My hips are over. They're not pointing back. Whereas if I'm like that, I'm kind of pointing back. So I'm going to go like that. I'm going to reach up and then fold. Find my big toes and just hold on to them. And then I'm going to walk my legs out into a forward fold. And this is definitely one of those poses where you can really feel the difference if you hold it for quite a while. Like with each inhale, you lengthen, bring your chest a little bit further to your feet. And with each exhale, you lower down into it. Inhale up, exhale further down. And then maybe you can change your grip, get your hands further around. Three more breaths. And then slowly walk yourself back up. And then a slightly more intense version of that. Going to open your legs up wide. And then same thing, reaching forward. And that is about as far as I can get. I've got really tight inner hamstrings here. So, I mean, I've seen people get their chest to the floor, which is just incredible. But I'm just going to rest out here. And if I want to go a little bit further, I can reach my toes and use that as a little bit of leverage. And then breathe. Yeah, you're going to come back up. And then to counteract all those forward folds, I'm going to do a little bridge. So sit like this with your hands facing, with the fingers facing forwards, feet planted, and lift the hips. And you can hold there, or you can kind of rep it. We're just using the glutes to lift the hips. Engage the back body. If you want a more intense version of that, actually straighten out the legs, point the toes, and then lift the hips like that. And then relax. I'm going to grab my belt again. So we're going to go, we're closing up now. This is the last few postures and we're going to do them on our back. So, first one is a hamstring stretch. Lie on your back. Hook your belt or your towel or whatever around the foot. Straighten up the leg. Shoulders on the ground, lower back on the ground. Engage that bottom leg as well. And just pull your leg up over above you. Maybe you can reach your foot already. But again, you're really trying to feel that in the center of the muscle there, not behind the knee or in the lower back. So if you're feeling like that, just back off a little bit, readjust. And then from here, we're going to go into half happy baby. So lose the belt, grab the outside of that foot, have a big bend in that knee. This is more about bringing your knee to your armpit than anything. So it's going outside of your body, big hip opener. Keep engaging that grounded leg. And release. Going to plant that foot by the grounded knee and go into a twist. So spread this hand out to the side, twist over. You can shift your hips if you need. This hand can go on top of this one to give a bit of leverage. And then look out over that hand. Feel a nice big twist along the whole spine. Really breathe into it. Try and get that right shoulder planted on the ground. And then come back to neutral. Straighten out that leg. Lift up the other one. Loop the belt round. Into your hamstring stretch. Shoulders back. Lower back on the ground. Grounded leg engaged. And lift. And we'll come into that half happy baby. Let's grab the outside of that foot. And again, knee trying to reach here basically. And release. We'll come down into the twist. That's our last pose. Just really, really relax into it. back to neutral.